Welcome to the SAT reading passage practice. Per the strategies, the very first thing we do is we read the intro paragraph and also the blurb before it. A lot of times there's a blurb, like 2, 3, 4 lines. Sometimes there's not, but it's a very good idea to read it because it can give you some clues as to the passage and the main idea. So let's go ahead and read this. It says questions 1 through 10 are based off the following passage. This passage is from Lydia Minatoya, The Strangeness of Beauty, 1999 by Lydia Minatoya. Okay, well, that doesn't really give us any clues at all. So the setting is Japan in 1920. She and her daughter Naomi are members of the House of Fuji, a noble family. So now we have some background. The setting, we know that the setting is Japan. That's good to know, and it's in 1920. So we have a time period, and we know that Chi is the mom, and Naomi is her daughter. That's good to know. And they come from a noble family, so they are affluent or wealthy, the House of Fuji. So always, always, always read this first blurb as it can give you a lot of clues in terms of what you're going to be reading. Now we're going to read the first paragraph. That's lines 1 through 4 in this case. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? Now, obviously, we don't know the whole story here because we haven't read the entire passage, but we want to do the best we can in terms of summarizing what's the main idea. Sometimes first paragraphs give a lot in terms of, what the key point is. This one, not so much. But regardless, we're going to give our best shot at uh, kind of giving the main point. So what is the key point here? And again, we want to write it down in like just very few words. We don't want to overdo it here, like 2 to 3 words. So Kira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? Would she have been? And she's the mom. So Akira, we don't know from we have to read on, but we know that she's the mom. So I'm going to summarize this. So I can put like Akira breaks tradition, and then maybe wonders, I'll put a question mark. Had he followed tradition? Had he followed? Again, you don't have to do complete sentences. This may be even too long, but again, he breaks tradition, and then he's kind of wondering, okay, what would have happened had I followed tradition? We don't, again, we don't know exactly what we're talking about here. We have to read on, but at least for the first paragraph, this is what we can summarize. Now, if you look at the questions, we can actually answer 3 questions based off of, this first paragraph alone. 3 has something in line 1, but also in line 65, which I've put the lines around 65 here. 7, the main purpose of the first paragraph, so that's just these first 4 lines. And then 8, as used in line 2. So we can definitely at least do 7 and 8. 3, we may have to read some other stuff, but I would do 7 and 8 first. Again, you don't have to necessarily go in order, like do question 1 before 2, question 2 before 3. You can go in whatever order you want. Now, I think it makes sense to do these 3 first because all of them have to do with the first paragraph. So let's start with question number 7. The main purpose of the first paragraph is to, now if you remember our strategies, we want to answer the question in our own words first. So do not jump to the answer choices. So I already summarized this, that Akira breaks tradition. and he wonders what would have happened had he followed tradition. So that's a good, you know, key point. So I'm going to use this. So my answer is he broke tradition and he wonders, hey, had I followed tradition and not gone directly, would the mom had been more receptive? I think that's a good answer. Now we'll go to the answer choices. Instead of finding the right answer, we want to eliminate the wrong answers. We're going to eliminate the ones that are least like what I just said. So the main purpose of the first paragraph is to A, describe a culture. No, it's not really describing a culture. He's, you know, breaking a tradition, but he's not, it has to, if it were describing a culture, it'd say like, oh, this Japanese culture of X and blah, 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 describing some sort of culture. So, nope, that's wrong. Criticizing a tradition. Is it the main purpose to criticize a tradition? We know that Akira breaks tradition, but nothing about Akira or anybody else criticizing a tradition saying, hey, this tradition is bad or I don't like this tradition. So that's gone. Remember, in order for the answer choice to be right, it has to be directly stated in the passage. So neither of these are directly stated. C, question a suggestion. Now, another strategy we talked about, or that we will talk about, is if the entire answer, if anything in the answer choice is wrong, then the entire answer choice is wrong. So question, yeah, he is questioning. He's kind of questioning, hey, what would have happened had I followed tradition? But is Akira questioning a suggestion? We don't, in nowhere in this first paragraph do we see like a suggestion, like one of his buddies saying, hey, I suggest you do this. So he's questioning, but he's not questioning a suggestion. So that's wrong too. So ABC is wrong. So it has to be D. So analyzing a reaction. Well, he is analyzing because he's kind of wondering. That kind of follows wondering. Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? So he is wondering, like, hey, had I done things differently, would the mom have been more receptive? So kind of analyzing if he'd done things differently, her reaction. So this one is obviously the best fit. So let's go to question number 8. As used in line 2, form most nearly means, again, we use the same strategy. We go and create our own answer first before jumping to the answer choices. So form is right here. So the first thing we do, let's just read it and see if we can come up with our own answer. Look for context clues, like look for the word clues within the context. So we're going to read around this. So this is line 2. We may have to read line 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to read starting from line 1. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between? So tradition, that seems like a clue word here. They kind of are related. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed tradition? Seems like something like custom tradition. So that's going to be my answer. Had he followed tradition? Had he followed custom? Something like that. That's my answer. Now let's go back to the answer choices. Again, instead of picking the right answer, we're going to eliminate the wrong answers. So appearance, does appearance mean tradition or custom? Nope. Well, hey, custom. That's actually one of the words we just came up with. So this should be a keeper. Structure. Structure does not mean tradition or custom, and neither does nature. So the right answer is B. Now we can go to 3. It says as used in line 1, so it has to do with the first paragraph, but also line 65. So I pasted this part again. Line 65 is here. We want to read a little bit before and a little bit after to do question number 3. So as used in line 1 and line 65, directly most nearly means, so this again, like number 8, we're trying to define a word. Akira came directly, breaking all tradition. Was that it? Had he followed form, had he asked his mother to speak to his father to approach a go-between, would she have been more receptive? So it seems like directly would be not using a go-between. Means just going directly himself. So not using a go-between. How about this one? In line 65. We have an understanding. Please don't judge my candidacy by the unseemliness of this proposal. I ask directly because the use of a go-between takes much time. Again, not using a go-between. In both lines, that's going to be my answer. Directly means not using a go-between. Now we go to the answer choices and try to eliminate. Frankly. Well, frankly means honestly. Like, let me be honest. Let me be frank with you. So does honestly or frankly, does that mean not using a go-between? Nope. Does confidently mean not using a go-between? Nope. Confident means you're confident. You're sure of yourself. That has nothing to do with not using a go-between. How about D? With precision, being precise, accurate. That has nothing, again, nothing to do with using a go-between. Now we're left with C, which is the right answer. Even if you don't know what mediation means, by the process of elimination, it has to be C. So mediation, a mediator is a go-between, somebody that you go to, a go-between to another party. So without mediation, without the use of a go-between. So the correct answer is C. So again, this passage, 10 questions. We answered 3 of these questions just by looking at the first paragraph and maybe a little bit of around line 65. So again, that's the essence of the piece by piece strategy in terms of reading and then answering the question based off of what you just read. Also, when we answer the questions, we answer it in our own words, and then we go to the answer choices and we use the process of elimination. So I'll see you in the next video and we can continue on with this passage.